I am convinced that if you can optimize your physical, mental, and emotional health, there is no reason why 2024 can't be your best year ever. What is good, everybody, and thank you so much for stopping by the channel. For today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different, kind of taking a step back from the streetwear and the sneakers and the fashion stuff to go ahead and hone in on a topic that I'm personally pretty passionate about, and that is self-betterment. You guys may or may not have already seen some of the previous videos on these topics, how I lost 20 pounds of fat. I also did a video on how I was able to reverse my receding hairline. For this next video, I decided to kind of share with you guys kind of a glimpse as to what I've been up to relating to my personal health and well-being, all in hopes that it would help you going into 2024. I personally find this stuff to be extremely fascinating. Biology has always been my favorite topic. I ended up graduating from the UC Santa Cruz with a degree in biology, really focusing in on the human genome. I find this to be extremely interesting. That might be the Filipino nursing side in me, but I digress. As I actually came across this really interesting statistic that 60% of all Americans make some kind of promise or New Year's resolution to themselves to pursue their fitness goals, and only 9% actually see that through. So why does this statistic exist? A lot of people just chalk it up to a lack of discipline, and while that does play a role, I do believe you need to have a little bit more grace for yourself and for others, because the fact is the cards are absolutely stacked against you. Everyone and everything is after one of two things, if not both, either your money or your attention. Hundreds of millions of dollars go into understanding the human psyche and how people can strip you of your money and your time. Make no mistake, my friends, being disciplined is absolutely an uphill grind. I mean, think about it. How many times have you said to yourself, oh, I'm just gonna check my phone for something really quick. I'm just gonna check an email or airdrop something to myself, and all of a sudden I'm just start scrolling. Lo and behold, 45 minutes goes by. So half the piece in this definitely has to do with discipline, but in addition to that, you have to know your proverbial enemy. And that's essentially where I started back in 2023. I made a promise to myself that I was going to be within that 9%, understanding that the enemy of my productivity and me reaching my goals, and since sticking true to my commitment, so many positive things happen in my life as a byproduct, and it translates so much further than just physically. And so, if I may be so bold, today's video I'd like to explain to you why you need to be inside that 9% to make 2024 your best, most productive year ever. Like I said, January 1st, 2023 began my goal of showing up to the gym 3 days a week. But if you follow me on Instagram, then you already know what ends up happening. That 3 days became 4, 4 became 5, and so on and so forth. And I ended up going on a streak of showing up at the gym regardless of how I felt, regardless of what I did the day before, regardless of how my sleep was. I showed up every single day for 176 days. Now, I say that not to brag by any stretch. I'm sure a ton of you guys are much stronger than I am, but rather, I did want to explain to you what happens as a product of pushing past the enemy of excuses and distraction, because ultimately, once you get past those proverbial barriers, this gym stuff, man, showing up becomes this incredible positive feedback loop. What this looked like for me, some of those days I'd walk into the gym feeling really enthused and motivated to be there. Other days, the other half of the time, I was feeling like, dang, I wish I was doing anything else but doing this. I just didn't want to be there. But altogether, every single time there was a true resounding theme, regardless of if I was happy to be there or if I wasn't. Every time I left the gym, I would be so glad I showed up. The most incredible feeling leaving the gym, it's like, wow, I showed up, I got my work done. I'm sure a lot of you guys are already aware of the term delayed gratification. Dopamine is released in a slow, steady way, and it dissipates just that same way, slow and steady, leading you to feel really, really good. And this is obviously in stark contrast to instant gratification, something in my opinion totally plagues the Western society, where we can't read books, where we can't stay focused on certain things, where we do what we feel like doing in that moment, feel some kind of rush for a moment, and as quickly as that sense of gratification comes in is as quickly as that gratification goes away. man, this is a video in and of itself, because to me, this is the most terrible way of living. And I'm not saying that to point fingers, because the only finger I can point is at myself. As I mentioned, this is pretty much how I lived through like 2015, 2016, 2017, just living off of the whims of what I felt in the moment. Truthfully, that was just no way to live. I can't even emphasize how happy I am now that I've kind of changed the way that I go about things. But yeah, that's a video for another day. Moving on, showing up to the gym and staying true to my commitment did result in a myriad of positive benefits that supersede the neurological and even physical effects. With this commitment, I was forced to have a regular schedule, whether it was what time I was gonna eat, a lot of time for work, a lot of time to do stuff for myself. And because of these things, I indirectly helped my circadian rhythm, which is the body's internal clock, which does align with your environment and is in charge of your body's endocrine system, the system that tells your body when to produce certain hormones, like when to wake up, cortisol, feel hungry, ghrelin, build muscle, testosterone, and HGH, and even when to fall asleep and produce melatonin, among a myriad of other things. Needless to say, having your circadian clock intact is vitally important for a lot of reasons. One of them being is constant energy levels. Now, this might be just me. I did notice, despite me losing weight, I still had a fluctuation of energy, which didn't feel right to me, where I'd feel tempted to take a nap in the middle of the day. But ever since I got my circadian rhythm dialed, just having a bedtime and a wake up time, it's benefited my life in so many ways. And one of those factors being insane levels of energy leading to productivity. Also in 2023, I cleaned up my diet a little bit more. I seldom intermittent fast, and I'm not on keto anymore. I do aim to put stuff in my body that is conducive to healthy living. Yes, it is a little bit more expensive and might require a little bit more time, but this to me is a worthy trade-off. If I know exactly what's going into my body and I'm putting whole foods in my body, not that processed junk with crazy shelf life, that to me is worth it. Little side note, I do meal prep, so it makes things a little bit easier. As a matter of fact, I'd definitely be down to do a video where I show you guys exactly what I'm cooking. It's super easy and expeditious. As I'm not a crazy good cook, I do love very tasty things, but it has to be good for my body. So if you'd be interested in a video like that where I show you guys my easy recipes, I can definitely do it. I'll only do it if you guys comment that you want to see that video. Also in that video, I can show you guys and break down the supplements that I incorporate into my diet, just to make sure my body's getting all the nutrients and my body is working at the most efficient rate possible. Regardless of if I make that video or not, I will provide a link down below to my link tree to show you guys exactly what I take, and you guys can go ahead and do some research on your own. But anyways, back on track, staying true to the promise of showing up to the gym in 2023 has optimized my physical, mental, and emotional health in more ways than I can fathom, and has produced probably the best year of my existence. I've grown more, I feel much more confident, I'm much more efficient, my businesses are doing as good as they've ever done, and I just feel so much more capable to take on anything that life has to throw at me. To take things a little bit more personal, I did struggle quite a bit during that time where I was essentially living for instant gratification all the time. And while I did feel a certain level of contentment, I grew complacent, and for me, that did nothing for me. It came at the expense of my bodily health. I just had to have that moment where I look in the mirror and survey the fruits of my life and what it was producing, and look at myself and say, bro, you can do more than this. You are not tapping into your potential. I was making trade-offs between what God had for me and wants for me for what I'm essentially wanting for myself in that moment. It was a tough place to be, honestly. It was a tough place for me to be in that time. But once I kind of looked at myself objectively, took a bit of personal accountability, and it's powerful, man. It's so powerful, and it's done wonders for just my mental health overall, my sense of well-being. And going into 2024, this is something that maybe somebody needed to hear. Maybe somebody out there might be inspired, and stay dedicated and motivated to make sure you're part of that 9%. That's kind of the goal of today's video. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, there have been a lot of thoughts in the back of my head. It's like, Paul, stick to your bread and butter. It would have been so much smarter to do your top 10 sneakers for 2023 or styles that died in 2023, but there's so much great content around those topics already. And so I decided to do something a little bit more personal inspirational and something that I hope might bless somebody out there. And so my prayer for you is that you try this out. Try to become a part of that 9%. It's not going to be easy, man. It's certainly going to be tough. There's going to be days where you don't want to do it. I mean, that 9% of people that are actually successful means that 91% of people don't see it all the way through. But I'm here to tell you that you can absolutely be a part of that 9%, because ultimately when it's all said and done, I'm just trying to figure this thing that we call life out. There's truly nothing special about me that makes me more capable than you, and you can absolutely do this. But with all of that being said, I wasn't going to let you guys go without kind of sharing with you guys my gym splits. I think that's something worth mentioning. Now, I'm not going to get into detail about the exact workouts, but I can do a specific video like that where I take you guys to the gym with me and vlog it and stuff like that, if you so choose. My gym splits are pretty basic, I'm not gonna lie. I have a day where I do chest, shoulder, tris, or the pushing motion. So when you push, it essentially works your shoulders, your triceps, and your chest. On another day, I'll work my buys and back, or a pull workout. That's essentially where the motion of pulling works in your back and your buys. I have days of cardio, which does constitute basketball, sauna, then cold plunge, and then I have a day just for legs. And yeah, that's essentially it. Nothing too complex. I essentially just alternate those 4 exercise days. Some days I'll go heavy, some days I'll go lighter. I do allow for my body to heal. I'm taking in all the macromolecules I need to make sure my body is healing and recovering. I'm sleeping 8 hours every night, making sure my sleep is absolutely dialed, and I am actually implementing supplementation to ensure I'm getting into the deepest stages of sleep. The links to the supplements that I take will be down below. As I mentioned, I did take a first class flight to Chubsinati town. I was actually running as mayor of being chubby. I'm 5'7" approximately. I'm 180 pounds when I was like a chubby boy. And then I lost weight through intermittent fasting and keto. Now I'm actually back up to 180, and it's just so funny how different I look at 180 like this versus when I was 180 the other way. And now going into 2024, I do have a few goals that I just want to share on here, because A, I do want to stay consistent, but B, probably more importantly, there is power amongst accountability between brothers. And I just wanted to put my resolutions out there to show you that I'm about it and I'm gonna stay consistent with it. And the first thing is I want to grow my shoulders. I do want to add a little bit of muscle to my shoulder. I think that's kind of where I'm kind of lacking. I also want to pursue a body that's a little bit more lean, as I'm carrying a little bit more adipose tissue than I'd like. I want to stay consistent with my sleeping patterns and my work habits. And this year I want to grow my businesses. I want to grow Aura Watch. I want to grow Locust&WildHoney clothing. I want to grow the channel to feats and heights that I didn't even dream is possible, remaining disciplined, and of course, knowing that I'm functioning from a place of servitude to you guys. And I mean that in the most encouraging way possible. Having the privilege of getting to serve you through making content through these years has been nothing short of a blessing, and I take it as such. God has been beyond gracious to me to allow me to have this platform. And yeah, man, it's a calling that I take very, very seriously. Like this is really dope to me that I get to do this. But as I mentioned, there is power in accountability amongst brothers. So I ask you, what are your goals in 2024? I'm going to be commenting down below. I want to have an engaged dialogue type of situation. I encourage you guys to dialogue amongst each other, to encourage each other, because there is power amongst brothers. And that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Guys, my biggest prayer for 2024 for you is that it would be your greatest year ever. I will see you in the next year. Happy New Year's, everybody. Until next upload, peace and be blessed.